Hi and welcome to Whisky Shared. You're watching my review of Johnnie Walker Celebratory Blend. I'm Toby and you're watching Whisky Shared. Welcome to my review of Johnnie Walker 200th Anniversary Celebratory Blend. This blend was made towards the end of 2020 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Johnnie Walker & Sons. The Johnnie Walker Celebratory Blend is a whiskey that basically it's supposed to show some of Johnnie Walker's heritage and show an older style of whiskey, but also celebrate the future to come with Johnnie Walker whiskies. It's bottled at 51% and I believe it's still an Amazon exclusive and retails for £55. It can be had for less, so it's definitely worth checking out their website from time to time to find out when it's on sale. The whiskey itself is probably coloured and chill filtered like most Johnnie Walkers, even though it's 51% ABV. I don't know what whiskies go into it, they don't really say. I've had a quick look on the internet and there's a suggestion that possibly things like Blair Athol, Clynelish and Talisker go into it. But it'd be interesting to see if we can pick up any of those notes on the whiskey itself. Shall we find out what it tastes like? On to the whiskey. Right, so before I start nosing and tasting, I will point out that this whiskey is a sample given to me by my brother. He bought the bottle himself and let me try some for reviewing on the channel. Let's start off with the colour. I'd say that's like a deep copper, but probably as there's some colour added, you know, it's probably unlikely that it's the natural colour. So let's start with the nose. Right, so this whiskey definitely takes time to open up in the glass. I've tried it a couple of times now, and at first when you nose it, it doesn't really give off much. You do get things like the peat smoke. There's some peat smoke that comes through on the nose. It's quite light, but that does come through quite quickly. There's a slight yeasty note as well, almost turns into a meaty note as well. That might be due to the smoke as well. I get some sweet icing sugar. There is a hint of waxiness there, so I'm already thinking Clynelish. That then turns into like baked apple, and the longer you leave it in the glass, you start to get citrus notes, especially orange, and then even at times I can pick up tropical notes on the nose. And then a really interesting note that I get on this is pepper, like white pepper. Get that on the nose. So definitely it has quite an interesting nose. There's quite a lot going on. So it is, yeah, it's definitely one that you probably want to take your time with in the glass before you even have a sip. Just take your time and let those aromas come out. Let's move on to the palate. Yeah, so the most dominant note on this is the waxiness. It is that sort of candle wax, crayons. It really is the dominant note. It's quite viscous, and at 51%, you do get a reasonable amount of heat. I'd say if it was your first dram of the evening, that first couple of sips might be a bit too punchy, but it does mellow down and it does sort of, it works quite well with the palate once your palate is acclimatized to that sort of ABV. With that heat comes some pepper, as you'd expect. But let's see what else I pick up on this. Yeah, so I'm getting a hint of smoke. It's not overly dominant. It's quite light, and that waxy note is really strong. So the smoke is almost like a background note. It's like a burnt wood, and that then turns into like a sweet powdered sugar. And with that sweetness, it does linger on the palate for a decent amount of time. I have found that apart from that, I don't really get much more on the palate, and I have found by adding a few drops of water, some citrus notes do come out. But I'm really really disappointed that none of the tropical notes that you know, that eventually come forward on the nose actually make it to the palate. In terms of finish, there is that heat and that pepper that lingers on for quite some time, along with a sort of a bitter dry wood note, and that sweet sort of icing sugar note that I picked up on the palate that lingers on the tongue for some time. It's probably a medium, potentially, yeah, maybe medium long, but it's an interesting blend because the Johnnie Walker blend is a mix of malt and grain. I'd say it's probably quite a high malt percentage, and retailing at £55, you'd expect that there's some fairly decent whiskies in there, but nothing really stands out. It's a bit underwhelming of a dram, and even on you know, on sale at sort of £46, I'd say this is actually quite an expensive whiskey. It's quite nice to having tried a higher ABV Johnnie Walker, because that normally isn't an option at 50+%. So that is nice to see what is possible, but it's just a little bit flat, it's a little bit underwhelming. So it isn't one that I'd probably go out and buy, because the flavours just don't impress me enough. But you know, if you're a Johnnie Walker fan, it's definitely one for your collection. The presentation and packaging is quite impressive, and you know, if it does sound like it's for you, then yeah, check out Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description so you can find it. Otherwise, I'll see you next time for my next review. Soldier.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, why not give it a like or a comment, and please consider subscribing for more videos like this.